Hello and welcome to Racers Now. Now, the last time I did a solo anti-post preview, I managed to put up a 14-1 winner of the Betfair Chase. So let's see if I can do similar with the King George Chase, which is on Boxing Day, a staple for many a sporting fan during the Christmas period. 3 mile chase, grade 1 at Kempton. Many horses go from the Betfair Chase to the Boxing Day at Kempton, the King George, then on to the Gold Cup. And that's what we're probably dealing with here as well. First things first, what is happening with the stay-in chase division? It's been all changed in the last few days. Recently with the Betfair, the John Durkan chase over in Ireland and the 1965 chase at Ascot all throwing up somewhat surprising results. Brave Man's Game, last year's King George winner, second in the Gold Cup at Cheltenham, went off 8-11 for the Betfair, only to finish second. That was at Haydock. Royale Pagaille was the winner of that one, 14-1 for the King George is Royale Pagaille, and Brave Man's Game is currently 11-4. Over at Ascot in the Grade 2, Shishkin, who has apparently been targeted at the King George and still is, went off 8-13 for the Grade 2 2-mile 5 furlong chase at Ascot the same day as the Betfair Chase and refused to run. Shishkin planted his feet at the start and said, "Not today, thank you very much." Picdore was the winner of that one, but might not be able to stay in the King George trip, to be honest, over 3 miles. Picdore, he's 20-1 for the King George as we speak. Then all eyes the day after that were on the current Gold Cup champion, Galopin des Champs, one of the best Gold Cup winners for many a year. Very, very impressive. But he was in the Grade 1 John Durkan chase at Punchestown, 1-2, and pretty much never looked like winning. That was Galopin des Champs. Fast or slow won that race. He beat in Galopin des Champs for the second time in as many starts for Fast or Slow. But Fast or Slow isn't even entered in the King George at the moment. He could be supplemented, but he's most likely to be staying over in Ireland for the Lexus Chase during the Christmas period over there. So whilst we're at it, and we're talking about the stay in chase division, let's have a look at the Gold Cup at Cheltenham in March 2023, because the form has taken an absolute battering from all angles. As you can see there, first, Galopin des Champs, beaten at odds on twice since. Second, Brave Man's Game, beaten at odds on twice since. That was both this season at Wetherby and at Haydock. Third, Conflated has been beaten 3 times since. Fourth, Noble Yates has been beaten twice since, although one of them was in the Grand National, to be fair. Fifth, Protectorat, last of 4 in the Betfair. 6th, Royale Pagaille won the Betfair, fair play. Going a bit further down and not on screen now. 7th, Eldorado Allen, beaten 3 times since. 6 horses who started that day in the Gold Cup but did not finish. They've had 7 runs between them and they've won 2 races between them. So you can see where the narrative around the Gold Cup taking a lot out of horses, particularly the Gold Cup of 2023 taking a lot out of horses, has come from. People have been particularly saying that towards the likes of Brave Man's Game and Galopin des Champs, as you can see, both beaten at odds on over the last weekend. But not that I particularly agree that, but look, hey, it may well be a factor. It takes a lot of winning, does the Cheltenham Gold Cup, 3 miles, 2.5 furlongs, stiff finish, etc., etc. So looking back now at the King George, as you can see, as a result of all those things that have gone before, the form of the Gold Cup, the recent defeats of odds-on favourites in 3 races on 1 weekend, the betting for the King George is absolutely wide open. The Betfair 1-2, i.e. Royale Pagaille and Brave Man's Game, were the 2-1 in the King George last year. Brave Man's Game winning, Royale Pagaille second. But, I mean, look, the King George last year, Frodon was third, Eldorado Allen was fourth, and both have been running in handicaps recently. And the wonderfully inconsistent Ahoy Senor was fifth in the King George last Christmas. Not a great renewal. And Lompress fell at the last, and he looked like he had a good as chance as any, but hasn't run since, and may not be running anytime soon, Lompress. So you have to factor that one in as well. So you'd like to think that this year's renewal of 2023, the end of 2023, will be a higher quality renewal of the King George in comparison to 2022. And surely, the Irish have been watching what's going on over in the UK in the stay and chase division, and surely they're going to send a larger contingent over this year to have a go at the King George. I mean, Envoy Allen was the only Irish contender last Christmas and was a questionable stayer anyway, and continues to be, in my opinion. So as you can see, Brave Man's Game is still somehow 11-4 favourite, despite being beat on his last 2 runs, despite running out of gas in both the final couple of furlongs at Wetherby and Haydock. both not particularly stiff tracks either. So that's where Jerry Colomb comes in. He's 3-1. Second favourite now. He's probably favourite in some places, as you can see on screen there. The winner of 3 novice Grade 1 chasers last season, and already a winner at the highest level in open company this season. That was over in Ireland, winning a 4-runner race. Not a brilliant race, but Grade 1 nonetheless. Jerry Colomb is very much the horse that everyone is talking about. He's the one on the up. The King George will be a whole different ball game than a 4-runner event at Down Royal, and it will certainly test his stamina and attitude. And his stamina is something that, although he's won over 3 miles at Cheltenham, he's still questioned by some now in an open age company. So yeah, want to keep an eye on there, Jerry Colomb. Allaho from the Willie Mullins juggernaut is definitely the most interesting potential runner. He's in around a 5-1 at the moment. I mean, with the race looking more and more open, surely that makes the likes of Allaho more likely to run. He'll be nearly 10 years old on Boxing Day, but has only ever really tried 3 miles once. That was in 2022 when he won the Punchestown Gold Cup at the end of the 2022 season. That was over 3 miles, and boy, it was a fantastic performance. But that was his only run over 3 miles. He's missed the 2023 festival, did Allaho, and has only been seen once in 2023 so far. That was in November, his comeback. A very easy Grade 2 win over 2.5 miles. There's no reason why he shouldn't be going for the top staying chase races, Allaho, to be fair. And if he was a confirmed runner, I think that Allaho would be favourite. Willie Mullins certainly isn't scared about running horses against each other, but you could see a situation whereby Galopin de Champs, beaten in the Grade 1 John Durkan chase recently, might well go to the Lexus chase at Punchestown over Christmas, and hopefully that means that Allaho and others potentially from the Willie Mullins stable can come over to the King George if he was to split them up. But if you take that John Durkan chase as an example, there were 6 runners. Willie Mullins trained 5 of them, and he still didn't train the winner. So he's certainly not scared to run them against each other, and you have to give him credit for that. But yeah, hopefully we do see Allaho, whether it is over here in the King George or over in Ireland, in the Lexus chase over a staying trip. I think Allaho is a very, very interesting contender with the Gold Cup at Cheltenham in mind later in the season. In my opinion, if Allaho was an intended runner, he would be favourite for this race. A couple of years ago, I thought that they was keeping the likes of Allaho and a Plutar apart. They were under the same ownership, Cheveley Park. One was going for the Gold Cup and Allaho was going for the Ryanair. That's not the case anymore because a Plutar is out of the picture. So make of that what you will. Of course, the Irish have the option, as I've mentioned a couple of times, of staying over in Ireland at Leopardstown for the Lexus chase over Christmas. You can't fault them for doing that. It's always a very good race in its own right. So that makes anti-post betting, particularly on the King George, pretty tricky, and particularly when it does look open. When there's no standout UK contender, you might be inclined to look towards the Irish, but you can't guarantee they're going to run until they're declared at the 48-hour stage. So a really, really interesting market. It looks set to be a decent renewal this year, certainly better than last year, as I've already mentioned. So what's the best bet as we speak? Well, it's Royale Pagaille again. I put him up for the Betfair chase 3 or 4 weeks before. Now we're about four weeks before the King George. Royale Pagaille was second in the King George last year. He's very much an intended runner, according to Venetia Williams' comments after winning the Betfair just last weekend. He beat Brave Man's Game fair and square there. All signs are that he's better than ever this season. That was a career best effort. Softer ground, the better. Like I say, intended runner. Could even still be on the improve a little bit. He's 14-1 Royale Pagaille, and Brave Man's Game is 11 to floor. That's plain wrong. I don't understand that at all. Yes, Brave Man's Game won it last year, but Royale Pagaille was second. Why Royale Pagaille, an intended runner, is as big as 14-1? I do not understand. And if the Irish boys don't turn up, which they might well not, the likes of Jerry Colomb, the likes of Allaho as well, might not turn up. So that's only going to send Royale Pagaille's price one way. Shishkin, who's shorter than him in the market at the moment, might continue to misbehave. That could well be the case. Lompress is injured at the moment, might continue to be injured. Might well be the case. All of which is going to make Royale Pagaille, again, who I keep emphasising is an intended runner for the King George. His price of 14-1 is way, way too big. So those that did get on Royale Pagaille to win the Betfair chase, reinvest a little bit on Royale Pagaille to win the King George at Kempton on Boxing Day 2023. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back with more content very soon on Races Now.